Right, good evening. Um, I'm not going to do the news, so you know to run off. But what I'm going to talk about is something that uh, I have experience with, and that's going on the news at the moment, and that is, oop, just drop it on the floor. Knives. Okay, this is a Swiss Army knife. Now the reason um, I'm showing you is because I actually have a reason that when I'm going to do something I need a knife for, I go and use this, okay? Now, the reason I have a Swiss Army knife is because when I was young, I was a Cub Scout. Then I was a Scout, then I was a Venture Scout, and then I was a soldier. All those professions or hobbies, what you call it, we use knives for woodworking. It's a tool. However, when I was a Scout, I did not need an 8-inch Rambo carving knife, or I didn't need a zombie killer 21-inch blade. Um, no, I didn't need one of those. I had a little tiny little pocket knife. And that whittles and it makes things and it's got things for cleaning hooves out and all sorts on it. It's a handy little thing. It's a tool, not a weapon. It can be used as a weapon, but um, I think since Crocodile Dundee, everyone goes, "That's not a knife. This is a knife." Right. The reason why I'm talking about this is because simply that knife crime is getting out of hand. Now in America, knife I don't know about the knife crime over there, but I can tell you that gun crime over there is like wow, it's phenomenal. Some I saw the last one who gave figures was something like there was 30 shootings. I think that was in 2019 or something like that in the UK against 30,000 in the United States. So uh, our guns are regulated tightly over here, so we tend not to have much gun crime. However, as a kid, I remember there was only two in the country in the whole year. Now, that's not the point. The point is with knives, I can understand if someone is carrying a knife. So, if you're a scout, there is a reason. You don't need a Bowie knife or anything like that to whittle a bit of wood. No, you use a little penknife or a scout knife. Right. I've seen and many times where people are carrying weapons that are a bit. What do you need that for? Now, when I actually for 20 years used to do displays in castles with swords. They weren't sharp. They weren't sharp. I wasn't going to kill me mates. So it's the facsimiles. They're blunt. Now the swords that reenactors use are tempered, so they actually are designed to be hit against each other. But if you go to outside shops and things like that, you can find these swords on the wall and they look fantastic. Oh, great. They're razor sharp. I've always been against having them razor sharp. There's no reason. You don't need them razor sharp because you're not going to attack it. Well, you're not supposed to attack anybody with it. Yeah. Why have a katana with a Japanese sword with a razor sharp edge? There's no point unless it's a real one and it's like a historical weapon. Or you usually like most reenactors carry cards. So if they're pulled over the police, they say, "Are you carrying anything?" You say, "Yes, I've got some weapons in the back," and we produce cards to show what with our pictures on everything like that to show to the police officer that we have a genuine reason for carrying facsimile weapons on us. If you go to a later period, they've got gunpowder. They have to have a gunpowder license. So again, it's very regulated all the way through. But it doesn't stop a 14-year-old walking into a shop and coming out with this huge, great, fully bladed weapon that he's going to swing around with his mates at and hack at bits of wood. There's a good chance it'll snap as well, come back and hit him in the face. So if you're a parent and you're thinking about buying a kid something like that, don't. My recommendation is don't. They're not designed to be hit. Yeah, they will just shear. It's just a cheap bit of metal that's shaped into a sword. Not what the reenactors use. The reenactors use actual weapons that are made correctly for a set purpose. We don't have a cutting blade on them. If we have an accident, they will, because of the speed and everything they're travelling at, and remember we're armoured, there is a chance that we might get a nick or a broken finger or something like that. I've had broken ribs and all sorts. Right, so what I'm saying is, those are tools that we're using. A 14-year-old walking around the street with a Rambo knife, what's that about? There is only one reason to carry that Rambo knife. Not for showing off. Because if you show off, accidents happen and you will end up stabbing one of your friends. And that friend can die. And people are dying because of this stupid trade in knives. Now the thing is, if you can't stop it either. If you stop producing the Rambo knives, that would be a help. But then they'll go and get a kitchen knife. Now, when I was younger, I actually had somebody come at me with a kitchen knife. And it was a big kitchen knife. And my reply simply was, are you going to stab me for a chip? And the guy, you could see the guy's face was like, he knew I wasn't bothered. I wasn't scared or anything. That the guy had come out with an eye. I lived in a rough area, some would say, or I was in a rough area at the time. But he realised I wasn't bothered by it, and which is daft. Never been in that situation. When you're young and dumb and you're brave beyond your years. And he put it away and left me alone, unfortunately. But if he'd have stabbed me, he'd have probably killed me. So, from that side, I've had that. I've had a gun put in my face as well, believe it or not, it's a strange may seem. But that's a different story. I'm on about knives. Now, we need to stop this. So, if you're a parent and you see your son's collecting weapons or something like that, you've got two choices. You can take those weapons off them, hand them in to the police. They'll gladly destroy them, or you can actually buy him latex swords and things like this, which aren't going to hurt anybody. You might get a friction burn off them, but you don't need Rambo knives and things like this. I've always said they really shouldn't be out there sold in shops, or if they are, you should have to produce. If you order a sword from a reenactor, if a reenactor orders a sword, he could wait up to 8 months for that sword, sometimes a lot longer, for that sword to be manufactured, and they're not just willy-nilly made in mass. They're made to specific order and purpose. That's what we should be doing. If you want to see a knife, go to Royal Armouries. They've got thousands of knives and swords and guns and everything. It's a fantastic day out. And you can see them all. Then go and get some LARP. That's live action role play. Get some of their weapons. They look realistic, but they're not going to hurt you. They're foam or latex. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. But it would be handy if kids could put across that, rather than carrying real knives. There's nobody. We don't need to be losing our youth like this. So it's stupid. So, and I've heard on television today that they're saying that, one of the boxing coaches were saying they should get 10 years if you're caught carrying a knife. I think yes. I think there is a measurement for pen knives. I'm just saying that for pen knives, there is a measurement that you're allowed only like 2 inches or something like that as a pen knife. Anything that is classed as an aggressive weapon. Now, what I'm saying is, yes, I agree with that boxing coach, 100%, yes. If you get caught walking around the street with a Rambo knife, I'm saying Rambo knife or a zombie knife or whatever, you should be jailed for 10 years. You will not have to do many people before everyone gets a message. You can't do it and you shouldn't do it. Yeah, it's like everything else. How would you actually explain to your friend's mum that you stabbed your friend and he died because you thought you were big and hard because you carried a zombie knife? Yeah, No, it's not on at all. So maybe the government, when they actually decide to go back off their holidays, can actually do this and put this into law, because we need something to do in it. Because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of problems coming. We've got lots of problems on. We've got strikes all over. We've got everyone's hating everybody for this. Everyone's hating everyone for that. There's a lot of bad karma around at the moment, and we need some good news to actually stop this. So what I'm saying is to your government, when you come back in, you've got a lot of things to sort out, and this knife crime is going to be one of them. You need to do something. Yeah, it's a sad day when I was a kid. You had the local Bobby, the local policeman. Everybody knew him by first name. Yeah, if you did wrong, you got a clip round the back of the head. You can't do that. Yeah, so they don't learn respect for the police officer. And the police officer would normally, he'd be all right. He'd be a nice person. Now you don't have local Bobbies. Now you have the Bobbies, the police coming around in stab-proof vests. They've got tasers. They've got guns. They've got knife sticks. Yeah. De-escalate everything, and you might win back public opinion if you start de-escalating. Be tight, be harsh with the rules on knife crime, and gun crime. But in return for that, you have to say, right, okay, do we really need to tase everybody left, right, and centre? So, well, if people had more respect for the police, you wouldn't. Yeah, they'd actually get into the car. If I was going to get nicked, I'd just quite happily walk in the car, sit in the car. Okay, fair enough. Other people won't. They'll fight them now because they're thinking, right, they've got too big for the boots. But that's a different thing altogether. What I'm saying is, got nothing to do with the police or anything like that. They're not the one. They're wearing anti-stab. Most people don't have anti-stab clothes on. Yeah, it's too much alcohol or something like that. Something goes on. The whole world is changing all the time. We need to change with it. We need to make the world a better place. Good name for a song, that. On that note, ta-ta.